Hey y'all, I'm back for the third and final ornament, and I know some of you are going, yay! Thank you for hanging in there with me. Um, as I've said, this is the heart of Christmas, and this nativity is the first design that I created for this pattern. I knew that I wanted to have a nativity, a snowman, and a Santa so that maybe there would be something for everyone in there. This came really quickly, and I wanted them each to have a heart. And believe it or not, when I did this, I thought, well, I'll just do another snowman and do another Santa. But then I looked at it and I thought, well, I don't know why I can't create different characters from the same design, and that's what I did. So you'll also get the line drawings for a penguin and gingerbread, and you know how to paint those, so just enjoy them. I noticed that somebody's already painted the gingerbread, and that made me really happy. So you're getting tired of this probably by now, but I got the ornaments from Bear With Us Ink. I love this size. It's 4.5 inches, and it's just so handy for so many things. I try to keep some of this on hand. So I base coat it, I sand it, and then I base coat it again. I transfer my lines with Master's Touch graphite paper. It comes from Hobby Lobby, and I just usually order 5 or 6 packages. Last time I ordered it was $2.99, and I really like it. It's light and it erases easily, so I suggest that. And then I transfer it with a stylus. I usually use a small one. This one's been well loved. I'm not going to go over basing these because it's the same thing that I've shown in the other ones. But as I said, when I base the face, I usually base it with blush pink first. You can leave this as your face color if that's what you like. I like just a little more of the peachy colors that I find in the warm beige or flesh tone, whatever they call it now. But this is the base coated with 2 coats of blush pink. I'm going to show you that I will add the hair first before I add the flesh tone, because this is kind of tight, a tight squeeze in here. And as I've told y'all, I do not do well painting with having to keep it down flat because I hold everything that I paint. But maybe it's time for this dog to learn some new tricks, huh? And I'm not going to do all this, but you get the idea. I add the burnt sienna first. Just keep going. I don't fill in the mustache. I'll do that last. Excuse me, still coughing. Okie doke. I showed you how to use the rake brush to create Santa's beard, but this time I told you that I was going to show you how to do it with a liner. And as I said earlier, I really like doing line work. So I get the marigold pretty thin, and I'm going to go ahead and add some more of the burnt sienna on my brush with this. And I'm going to try to be careful and not get it all over the place. But I just make little lines. If you get too much of one color in there, just let it dry and go back over it with another color. What have I taught you? It's just paint. Try not to get it on baby Jesus's head. While I'm painting these lines, I don't know if y'all know this or not, and if you do, just kind of ignore it. But the swaddling clothes that Jesus was wrapped in were really burial clothes. Back in the days of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, traveling had a high death rate because the desert was so filled with creatures and robbers and thieves. Our evil hasn't just started in our lifetime. It's been since the beginning of time. So whenever they would travel, they would always wrap burial cloths around them. So if they did die in their journeys, they would be wrapped in this cloth and buried. And so it's quite symbolic that Jesus was wrapped in these swaddling clothes, because, as we know, he would soon be killed for us. That's just some little interesting tidbit, if you didn't know. And so you can see I'm just doing lines. I try to keep the paint pretty thin and go back and forth with my colors. I try not to get it everywhere. And just keep going till you like it. These need some more definition over in here. Try to keep it in the direction that hair grows. To give, even though we do whimsical, you have a little bit of realism to it. And whenever you mess up, and like I said, we don't mess up, but if someone thinks you messed up, it's okay. You just say it's whimsical. That's like Frasier in the first episode when he moved his daddy in, and he said nothing matches, and Frasier says it's not supposed to, it's eclectic. Well, we're not supposed to have this all perfect. I'm trying not to get it on that, and that's why I always do this before I move on to something else. But anyway, you've got an idea. Now, let's use Shading Flesh. Deep Blush, I think, is what's the new name for it. They had to change them to be politically correct. I don't know how that is. And I've already gotten my hand in paint. Okay. And we're going to skip around so that we don't pull off what we put on there. And like I did in Miss Santa, I think I'm just going to base this side of her face and leave it to look like a shadow, or rather a highlight. I would normally do a much neater job if I were holding it, but no. Then let's find a little dry brush and let's scrub in the cheeks. Like I said, I pick some up on my brush and then I just scrub it out. You can add it easier than you can take it away. So I keep moving it out so that you can see that I don't have much left in there. And sometimes there's not enough left, so I have to add more. In the original, I floated the cheeks in, but I just really like them scrubbed in. It's just my favorite. And this wild berry is just perfect. Okay, now let's go back to the shading flesh. And I'm going to shade where I want the little baby Jesus to have a smile and a nose and little curved eyes. I'm going to go back over those because I think it needs to show up, but it just gives you an idea of where to put it. Give Mary a nose. And you can notice that, I think, she looks really young here because Mary was a young girl. She wasn't an older lady like we tend to see in the pictures. So I tried to keep her young looking. And dip my liner brush in water, and I pull out from my puddle. I don't want it too thin, don't want it too thick. I want it just right. And as I said, I usually start with the mouth. I'm going to give her a big smile. And give her a mouth. And a lip or a chin. I'm not sure what that is. But as I said, it's just a line under there. And let's give Joseph a big old smile like we did Santa. Using lamp black to do this. And then we're going to go over little baby Jesus' eyes. And his nose. And his sweet little smile. To do the eyes, I start with a dot. These dots are usually easier to do with a stylus. And we'll get the liner again. Then pull in that paint from the puddle. Put a little curve above to make it look like they have an eyelid. It's one of those little things that helps it look just a little better. And let's get some eyebrows in here while we're got our liner brush out. I'm trying really hard not to smear this. That's a big old blob. After it all dries, you can shade underneath those eyebrows, but I don't think I did. We're going to add the lip over here for Joseph. Just a little line of wild berry. pick up just a tad of white. If you get too much in there, you just go back and forth till you get it like you like it. I go ahead and add my little cheek. 3 dots is usually what I do for a cheek. And then just 1 for little baby Jesus. I'm going to take some of this wild berry. Let's paint his little nose. I didn't do that in the pattern, but I'll do it now. And the eyes are still a little wet, so I'm not going to touch those. Everything around is shaded with Payne's Gray, except for the headdress. I did that with burnt sienna. But let me just get a little of the Payne's Gray in there. Got his clothes shaded with this. Isn't he sweet? Sweet little baby Jesus. This would probably be a lot easier if I had used my smaller brush. Well, that make life easy. I skip around so that I don't take off what I just added. Add some little cross marks there to kind of look like it's wrapped. As I said, when I float, I usually do 2 to 3 coats, but you get the idea. Let's load it with some burnt sienna now. And for some strange reason, I get dog hairs on everything, and it usually ends up being a mess. He's worth it. When I get a mess, I just go right over it and smooth it out. As I said, I'm a choppy floater, but I go back and smooth it after I get all my little chops in. To me, the reason that I started doing that is I was finding that my floats were skipping over the wood. If there's a grain in your wood, doing these little chops help get it down in there. Most of the wood that we get now is smooth, and there's so much MDF too. But that's how I got in the habit. Back when I started painting, my daddy cut all my wood for me. And sometimes it was hard to find good wood. It still is. But there's so many places that you can buy it already cut. And that helps. And I would probably go over that at least one more time. You can see how me doing just this, how much it improves the smoothness, and it kind of walks the color out. But if you do it differently, that is absolutely okay. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? Let's go ahead and put his mustache in before I forget. And we'll need to do a little shading on that. But I usually always wait to do the mustache later so that it can help cover up some of my messy painting. I am a messy painter. I'm just a messy person. That's okay. There we go. Now I'm going to get my little angle brush and add pink to my hand as I put it in the wet paint. But we're gonna shade underneath the mustache and his mouth, up across the top where it joins, underneath Mary's head, to kind of separate the hair from her face. Now I'm gonna dry brush some white in this bleached sand hat. It's not gonna show up very much, so I'm gonna leave it kind of thick, not making it as dry as I normally do. It's more like smearing paint instead of dry brushing, but that's kind of what you have to do to get it to show up here. That just, even though it's not very strong, it just kind of gives it a realistic look, adding some highlights. Now for this in the sky, where the star's going to go, I do want it to be dry brushed. I'm going to get them out, get as much of the paint out as I can. And that's where we're going to put our star. And let me get some gold. Again, I'm using the Venetian gold in the Dazzling Metallics. I love Dazzling Metallics. But they have several golds. They have a Splendid Gold. I don't think there's that much difference in between them. If you think differently, that's fine. You use what you like. I start by putting a dot. And then the 4 main rays coming out, and some little ones in between. And then I go ahead and I add some black right beside this because it's not very strong. Then let's add some dots to the eyes. And I think, you know what, her chin needs a little help there. Didn't get the shading very dark. There we go. That's a little better. And I think that is all on that. She is done. What I would do to finish it is I make sure that I don't have any paint on the edges, and then taking the gold, and I'm using a Laurie's Spelt stencil. It's BCS 254. It's got hearts on it, and I really like that since this is the heart of Christmas. Yeah, I've got a lot of my mama in me. She would always do little meaningful things like that. Things that nobody else really noticed, but she did. And I find, luckily, that I've allowed myself to do stuff like that too. I learned a lot from her about kindness and doing good. She sure did love people too. And she told everyone she loved them. Yeah. If you pounce this on stencils like this, it's much easier. It's a little noisier, but if you swirl it, it'll get the these parts are so loose, it'll move them and you'll have a messy stencil. Might have one anyway because I was doing it fast, but there you go. It just adds so much to it. And there we go, the finished product. I hope you've enjoyed these, and that you'll keep the heart of Christmas in your holiday journey in your life. People don't need a piece of your mind, but they need a piece of your heart. Help where you can, do what you can, and I hope you have the merriest of Christmases. Thank you. This has been a journey. Y'all have a good night and be blessed. Thank you.